Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are on chapter 14, verse 4, beginning of Parshas Beshallach. So Hashem says to Moshe, the Jewish people have left Mitzrayim, they've left Egypt, and now they've gone on this strange, circuitous route. And now in verse 4, V'chizakti slave Paro, Hashem says, I will strengthen or will harden Paro's heart for a daf achreihem, and he will chase after you. And I will find great glory through Paro and all of his army. And the Egyptians will know that I am God. And the Jewish people did so. Okay, notice they proceeded on their way. God has to harden Paro's heart again. Hasn't he hardened Paro's heart enough times? Why does he have to harden Paro's heart this time? So just an interesting Ramban on Pasuk Daled, V'chizakti slave Paro v'radaf achreihem. Ba'avur shepachad Paro mehem b'makas b'choros. Paro had already become quite afraid of them thanks to the plague of the firstborn. That was really like the last straw for Paro, not in an angry way, in a terrifying way. Ubikesh mehem uveirachtem gamosi. Even Paro finally admitted the Jewish people and their God were on top. So he asked Moshe and Aaron, please bless me also. Even if they were going to flee, even if they weren't going to return, Paro wouldn't have had it within his own heart to chase them. Good riddance. He's scared of them. Let Moshe do with the Jews whatever he wants. Therefore, that's why Hashem explains that when Paro is going to chase the Jewish people now, it's only because God has hardened his heart. Because even for who Paro had turned over a new leaf once the plague of the firstborn had happened. So now Paro is only going to chase them because God is hardening his heart. Ulamata Omar. In a few psukim down the road, it will say that God is going to harden the Egyptians' heart, and they will chase after the Jews. So the Ramban says when it talks about hardening the heart of the Egyptians, that's the moment when the Egyptians chase the Jews into the dry seabed. When the Egyptians chase the Jews at that moment. The Ramban says, of course you need to harden their hearts because they'd have to be crazy. They just saw this remarkable miracle happen. The water opens up for the Jewish people. The Jewish people walk right through, and you don't think anything bad might happen to you if you try to chase the Jews. They've proven yet again, God has proven yet again that he's helping the Jews. It is crazy for the Egyptians to think they should follow the Jews into that split sea. But God made them make a very poor decision, and he hardened their hearts. So Paro's heart needs hardening to even chase after the Jews and not just stay home with the Egyptians and say good riddance to the Jews. And the masses of the Egyptians who came along with Paro, their heart needs hardening when basically they commit suicide by running in to the sea, which has just split, when it's very obvious there was a miracle that occurred for the Jewish people. It's just an interesting Ramban. Okay, very next pasuk, verse 5. Vayugad l'melech Mitzrayim, the king of Egypt was informed, kivarach ha'am, that the people had fled, that the nation had fled. And the heart of Paro and his servants turned towards the nation. And they said, what is this that we've done? That we've sent the Jewish people off from having served us. It seems to reference the Jewish people 3 times in this pasuk. The first 2 times refer to the nation, and the 3rd time refers to Yisrael. Why? Why the different terms of Am and Yisrael? So very interesting Kliyakar over here. Kliyakar on pasuk Hey. Vayugad l'melech Mitzrayim kivarach ha'am. Kivareach miboyelei. Sharei mitchila shalcha mirtzono v'achshav heim borchim. So the Kliyakar has a very technical question. Varach means the nation fled in the past tense. The Kliyakar says, wait a second. when they left Egypt, they hadn't fled. Paro gave them permission to go. Kli Yakar says, presumably what's being said at this juncture is they're noting that, that the Jews aren't coming back. Remember, originally, Moshe and Aaron spoke about just going for a tour into the desert to bring sacrifices to God. So presumably the pshat over here is Paro's agents tell him, gosh, they're not coming back. They're actually fleeing. But if the Kli Yakar says that's the pshat, so then it shouldn't be that they fled. It should be that they are fleeing. It should be in the present tense. Va'od, lama karam shnei pa'am ha'am, ubishlishi amar kishulach Israel. Why do the first two times in the pasuk, why are they referred to as nation, and the third time they're referred to as Israel? Va'od, another point, eich malo libo lelech im sheish meos rechev al shishim ribo. V'yaf b'shenemar v'chorechem mitzrayim vaday lo mikol eretz mitzrayim kibeitz tefisha sh'lahoy lo shus zman kol kach el miyirach aslokach v'mitzrayim atzma. The third question is an interesting one. The Kli Yakar thinks the numbers are off. You know, you're only going to take 600 chariots to take these 600,000 Jews. Like, how do you think that's going to work? I don't know. Obviously, you could disagree with this question of the Kli Yakar. Elavada, because he suggests there's no way this is really all of Paro's military force. It must be this was just Paro's military force on site in that specific position. Okay. Elavada, shebechomakom shemaskir ha'am medaber be'erev rav. So he has a novel idea. He says that when it refers to the nation here, it's not talking about the Jews. It's talking about the Egyptians who went along with the Jews. We know there was a segment of Egyptians who had jumped on the bandwagon and decided to go along with the Jews. So Paro gave Jews permission to go, but there were Egyptians who fled with them, not with Paro's permission. And of course, from the moment they left Egypt, they were fleeing. So the Kli Yakar says if Am refers to the Egyptians that went along, that's why it talks about fleeing in the past tense. V'chashav Paro ki achshav aydei sheyiru sheYisrael nevuchim ba'aretz yomru ha'erev rav shesar Hashem me'al Yisrael b'avur zeh vaday ritzon ha'erev lav lachzor Mitzrayma zula sheYisrael einon manichin osan. So an interesting idea. So remember, the Jewish people were going on this funny route that didn't seem to make any sense. So Paro sits there, and Paro is informed that there were Egyptians who fled along with the Jews. So he says, they were just going because it looked like things were going well for the Jews. But now that the Jews are on some funny path, I bet they want to be done with the Jews. But I bet the Jews won't let them go. So Paro says, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a military contingent to come to liberate the Egyptians from being under the Jewish thumb. Samach Paro birodfo achar Yisrael in Mesei Mispar. And on that, Paro now relies in taking a relatively small contingent to chase after the Jewish people. So the Kli Yakar says that's the pshat in the pasuk that the king of Egypt was told that the people fled. Lo sheshalach imoim akturin ki davar zelu piresh mikra el bebeso hugadlo shahochu derech bricha ha'am dahainu ha'mitzrim vayasone osam al zeh. So first of all, Kli Yakar has an interesting pshat. You know, he says Paro was told that the people had fled. Who told him? Rashi has a whole pshat that Paro sent spies to observe what was going on. So now they come back and they tell Paro they're not coming. The Jewish people aren't turning around. But the Kli Yakar says you could say something else. That Egyptians are coming to Paro and saying, you know, our next door neighbors left. It wasn't only the Jews who left. There's all these Egyptians who left. And Paro, of course, had great enmity for the fact that those Egyptians had left Egypt. And now Paro's heart flips towards the nation. His heart flipped from hatred to love. So really interesting. So because it says in the pasuk that Paro's heart turned towards these people. Remember, according to Kli Yakar, these people are the Egyptians. So what does it mean his heart turned towards them? He was angry at them, of course. What do you mean his heart turns towards them? Kli Yakar says, these people are a golden opportunity for PR back in Egypt because they left Egypt. They went along with the Jews because the Jews were going to win. But then they went with the Jews, and the Jews don't even have a good GPS. They don't even know where they're going. And so now we're going to run. We're going to liberate those Egyptians from those Jews, and then they're going to come back with us with big smiles on their faces, and they're going to tell all of their Egyptian friends how messed up the Jews are. So Kli Yakar says, so originally Paro had resentment towards these Egyptians who fled. But now when he hears that the Jewish people are floundering in the desert, at least he thinks they're floundering in the desert, now he has a very different attitude towards the Egyptians because he says, these people, I'm going to save them, and they're going to tell everybody how great it is to be in Egypt. And then at the end of the pasuk, when it says, and they said, what is this that we've done that we let the Israel go for being our slaves? This, according to Kli Yakar, is the first time in the pasuk they were actually referring to the Jewish people. In other words, Paro's got a great idea. We're going to go. We're going to liberate the Egyptians who are along with the Jews. They must be stuck with them now. And then once you know how the human psyche works. Once he's so far along this path, he says, "And you know what? I don't even know why we let the Jews go in the first place. We're going to get them all back." That seems to be the idea, according to Kli Yakar. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, and now if we go ahead to verse 10, we have really a remarkable scene. Ufaro hikriv. So Paro is coming close. The Jews see the Egyptians behind them and the sea in front of them. Paro approaches. Vayisuvnei Yisrael Seinehem. And the Jewish people raised their eyes. And behold, the Egyptians were coming after them. And the Jewish people became very frightened. And they cried out to God. That's the appropriate response. They're scared, they daven. Verse 11. Moshe, and they said to Moshe, were there not enough graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the desert? What is this that you've done to us to take us out of Egypt? And the question is obvious. We've asked this before. It bears repeating. The question is obvious. The first pasuk had them davening to Hashem. The very next pasuk has them complaining to Moshe. How could the same people who davened turn instantaneously to Moshe and say, "What, do you have a death wish for us?" I mean, do they believe or do they not believe? So we'll talk about this tomorrow, God willing. So we discussed this morning the hardening of the heart of Paro and the Egyptians, and we discussed the novel pshat from the Kli Yakar. That's not the standard pshat, but a novel pshat from the Kli Yakar as to what Paro's thought process was in chasing after the Jewish group.